Good morning, everybody, and welcome to What's Real in Real Estate, where we talk about what's really happening in the real estate market. I'm Ellie Morris with Signature Real Estate Group, and I'm excited to be back with you. It's been a while since we've done a podcast, but I got a lot of great guests coming up for the rest of the year, starting with Keith Kelley today. Keith, glad to have you.
Hey, thanks, Ellie. It's nice to be here with you.
This is great. This is great. I'm going to run through the numbers real quickly for everybody. Keep them up to date. What's going on with the ML, with the market and the housing market. You know, for the longest time we had no inventory. Now we've got a good amount of inventory. There's 7,881 single-family homes for sale. And we sold only 1,635 in the last 30 days, so it gives us a little over a 5-month supply. And as I've mentioned before, the ideal market is 6 months, a perfectly balanced market. It's not a seller's market. It's not a buyer's market. So we're just about there. We're getting close to getting there.
Yeah, you know, there's still a lot of opportunity for a lot of buyers if they're willing to go out and take a look,
Absolutely.
make an offer.
That's right.
And
I'm so glad to have Keith here because he's been in this business in Las Vegas for close to 40 years. Not quite, but
not quite.
Pushing.
I started real estate in 1986, but I've lived in Las Vegas since 1970.
Okay, because I wanted to talk about that a little bit. By the way, we do have some good news. A week starting on Tuesday or Wednesday, political ads are all done.
Oh, yeah.
And that I'm very excited about.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But that's why I was real excited to have Keith on the show today. Keith has some history in Las Vegas, and I pulled some numbers up, Keith. In 1970, the population of Clark County, not Las Vegas,
right.
Clark County was 273,888. And today we're over to almost 2.3 million.
Yeah, you know, it was really something. It used to take you 15 minutes to go from one side of town to the other side.
And, you know, that's one thing people don't realize who don't live here. Even though we are now a big city, it still is pretty easy to get around town.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And
I can go from the northwest to the southeast in 35 minutes easily.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can do that. And, you know, benefits of being in a large city like Las Vegas, metropolitan area, you know, what we've got 2.5 million now, is all of the shopping and all the benefits of that, because before we didn't have all of those benefits. I can remember we used to go watch the fireworks, and we'd go to Spring Mountain Road in Decatur.
Oh, wow.
Because there was a cliff there that was high enough you could see the fireworks. There was nothing there. That was the far west end of town.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. So you came to town in what year?
1970.
Where are you from, Keith?
Well, I was raised up in Washington State.
Oh, okay.
Then I went down. I went through college. I went through Arizona State.
Oh.
Yeah, I walked in the front door and right.
Are those the Wildcats?
No, those are the no.
The Wildcats are the other ones.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. No, those are the Sun Devils.
Sun Devils. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
But
okay. Sorry about that.
Went in the front door and right out the back door. That's how I went through college. Started my own business. I was doing landscaping. So when I came to Las Vegas, I started my own little landscaping company, became a landscape contractor. And so it's fun to drive around town, see some of the old things I did years ago.
I'll bet. That is cool. That is cool. So what prompted you to get into the real estate business?
Well, there was hard to tell you, but there was an economic downturn in the late 70s, early 80s. And with that, there were a lot of contractors that weren't fulfilling what they were supposed to do.
Okay.
So being in landscaping, it seemed like the contractors, the builders, would put all these extras into the new construction of the home. So the home builder didn't actually have all that much money for landscaping when they stopped. So I decided to go from the back end of the transaction to the front end of the transaction.
There you go.
Where you sell the land, sell the residential property, and that's how you did it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you say you got here in the 1970?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were here when the mob was running the town.
Oh, yeah. And
How was it?
It was good. It was great to live in Las Vegas at that time. I was single for a long period of time, so I was able to go to some of the clubs, and get to watch Frank and the boys.
That's cool, man.
In those areas, and it was great.
I came here for my first time, I think it was 75, with my parents, my sister. My uncle used to play a lot here. So he got us comped into the old Aladdin.
Oh, okay.
So I had my system. I won a few bucks. So I came back home, told my buddy Keith, we got to go out here. I got the system. We're going to clean up, right? So we go back about 6 months later, my friend Keith and I brought $500, like in 1976. That was a lot of money back then, of money for me. And with my system, what my system was, I was playing blackjack, $2 a hand. If I lost 2 hands in a row, I'd move to another table. Once I lost at 2 tables, I go to the next casino. And I did this when my folks were here. They were already in bed all night. I wake up at the Sands. I get out done at the Sands, sun's up, and I'm up $250. So I take the same system. First day I lost $300. I was sick to my stomach.
Oh.
So that was my system. That's when I learned there is no system. But what I'm getting at, I went to a show. So I told my friend Keith, no matter what we do, we got to see a show. Well, we're tight on money. We go to the show. I know you got to give the guy a tip.
So, everything. $20 got you up front.
So I put a $5 bill and a $1 bill and a $10 bill and a $1 bill, and I folded it. He saw the 10. He says the guy gives him these seats. Then he opens. He goes, hey, call me. He calls me back. He goes, hey, forget about it, and send us down. We sat to see Tina Turner. We were the first 2 seats right on the stage. I was fabulous, but that's what it was like back then.
Yeah, it was that way. And so in 1986, I got into real estate. I decided to go from the back end of the transaction to the front end of the transaction.
So who were the big players back then? Today we have us and Urban Nest and Realty One. Who were the big players back in the 86?
Oh, golly. Back in those days, you had Jack Matthews.
I've heard of him.
Jack Matthews is where I started. When I started with Jack, he said, now you're in real estate. And now that you're in real estate, you're self-employed, you're in your own business, you only have to work half a day. And I said, oh boy, this is wonderful. I only have to work half a day. He looked at me, he said, yeah, you can work from 6 in the morning till 6 at night, or 6 at night till 6 in the morning. So that's what I did. And I actually have sold properties, wrote offers on the hood of my car at midnight, selling properties with a flashlight to see what we were writing.
Something. I've heard those kind of stories before. That's different. Yeah. That is different. But there's no question about it. If you're going to get this business up and running, you got to put some time into it. You can't just little dilly-dally around and hope it's going to happen. You got to make it happen.
Right, and it's the same day now. One thing I learned being an independent contractor, which we are in real estate, is every day when you wake up, you're out of business.
That's right.
You've got to start every day with some kind of a plan to get business to start tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, I tell everybody who's new in the business that talks to me about what should I do, I say, well, first thing, you're working for yourself. You've got to be the toughest boss you ever worked for on yourself. You can't be easy and just sit home and lollygag around. But I'm going to go back to 86, and Jack Matthews, I heard of him. He was the biggest guy in town then, wasn't he?
Well, yeah. Jack was an independent. He had an office, several offices. I think he had 4 offices in Las Vegas.
Because in 86, the population was probably 500,000 people, roughly?
Yep. That's Rainbow was just starting to get developed. So every time there was a rainstorm, the big boulders would roll down onto Rainbow.
Oh, no kidding.
And so half of Rainbow, you couldn't always use Rainbow as a north-south.
What part of town did you live in back in those days?
Well, the first house I ever bought was down off of Charleston and Lamb. Nice little area.
Oh, okay,
there.
Yeah.
We had looked originally at some Sproul homes that were located at Charleston and out towards Buffalo.
Oh, wow.
But that was considered so far out of town that you'd have to take a lunch.
I'll tell you a funny story, Keith. I graduated high school in 1973, and when I first started listing REO properties back in 06, 07, I met a guy who did trash outs. You know, trash.
Yeah,
They'd come and
sure.
clean the house up, get all the garbage out, and get it ready for. This guy was born and raised in Las Vegas. Also graduated high school in '73, so we're the same age. He's told me that he grew up downtown near 13th Street, and after he graduated, his parents decided to move, and all their friends and family told him, "You're crazy. You're going so far out. No one's going to even come visit you. Why are you going so far?" They moved to Sahara and Valley View. That's how far out they were in 1973. Isn't that something?
Yeah, that was considered to be far out.
Yeah.
You know, you had rural properties that were half-acre lots at Tenaya and Desert Inn.
Well, isn't that Section 10? Or close to it?
Well, yeah, sections 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, those are all big lots.
Yeah, that's where all the custom homes were.
So the market, when you came here, what was the market like? Was it a hot market, a cool market, or just an average market?
Well, back in the 70s.
In 86, when you started.
But in 86, you know, there'd been an economic turndown, but it's, you know, they talk about doing what we call short sales in 2008, 9, and 10 in those areas there.
I still have nightmares about short sales.
Yeah, well, I did my first short sale in 1989.
Oh, wow.
And I got zero money for it.
Yeah.
Okay. But the homeowner was so thankful to be able to sell his house and move on that he's referred all of his family to me.
Yeah, that's one thing people don't get. Sometimes you have to give up a little bit to do what's right by the consumer, and it pays you back tenfold. It always does.
Oh yeah, it'll come back to you.
Let's go back to 86.
Okay.
Now, the mob was kind of getting out of town by then, weren't they?
Well, yeah,
that's
about the time when Howard Hughes was coming in a little bit before that and doing that. Let me go back just a little bit earlier than that, because in doing my landscaping, there was a nursery, a Hadlin Nursery. We were doing some landscaping for a family by the name of Greenspun.
Oh, I've heard of them.
You've heard of the Greenspun?
Sure have.
They had the Sun newspaper was independent at that time. So I was doing some landscaping around the Sun newspaper, but I also got a chance to do some landscaping for Brian Greenspun.
Okay.
And so I actually installed the first digital clock for landscaping.
Oh, wow. The one that I changed last couple of days ago.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you like that?
Yeah, at that time it was kind of different, and got started into Xerioscape.
What is that?
Xerioscape is desert landscaping.
Okay.
Drip systems, things like that.
Okay.
So there's a place now called Springs Preserve.
Sure.
If you look on the north side of Alta, there was a little area there where we first started the Xerioscape and the Springs Preserve. And there were like 5 or 6 nurseries in town.
Interesting.
Where we started that. And then from landscaping, but what I wanted to get to was Green Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could drive what is now Green Valley Parkway, and there were just big concrete columns in the middle of the desert, which is now where all of the streetlights are for Green Valley.
It's interesting because those of you who've never, if you visited Vegas but have never gone out the Strip, you don't realize we're a regular community with homes and suburbs. And I came here with my wife. I don't know. We come every year for a while, and she said to me, "You got to go see the Hoover Dam."
Yeah.
I said, "I don't want to see the Hoover Dam. I want to go back down and play blackjack, or the pool or whatever." Well, the next year she suggested again, and I said, "Well, the third time I can't keep saying no." I said, "Okay." We rented a car, drove down the Hoover Dam, and I was blown away. I see all these homes and these suburbs, and I thought, "Wow, this is real." And today, people still don't realize this is just not that I love the Strip, but now after being here 17 years, I probably only go down there to meet a friend who's in from out of town, or pick somebody up to bring them out to the house. We don't go down as much as we used to when we first got here.
Yeah.
But the people here are fantastic.
And people here are really friendly. It was interesting in the late 70s. Caesar's Palace used to have the IndyCar races in their parking lot.
That. Yeah.
So it was interesting that at the time I had a Porsche, and I used to kind of run time trials and race my Porsche. And so as part of the SCCA Club of Las Vegas, we got to set up the grid for the cars, and I got to ride in the PPG pace car.
Now, roughly what year was that?
That would have been like 78, 79, 80.
Well, think of it. We really come full circle. Now, next year we have the Formula One racing coming, taking over the whole city.
So once again, you start seeing where Las Vegas has really grown and really come into that.
Now, this is a good question for you. People have said this to me. I wasn't here to experience, but people have talked. I thought the mob was great when they ran the Strip, but people have said more than once, as great as the mob was to have here, this town would never grow the way it is today if it didn't change, if the mob wasn't gone.
Yeah, when I think we just started seeing when Steve Wynn came in and they started to build and expand all of those things, that was really where the Strip really started to take off.
We had an event last night, VA Rep did, Comedy for a Cause, and I'm meeting with a couple of gals from a title company, and they're new in town. And I asked, how do you like it here? You know, she had the nerve to tell me, she likes it, but she doesn't think the people are very nice. I said, the people? And I didn't go off on her, but I wanted to. But I said, you weren't here on October 1, 2017 to see what a real community is, how this town just came together and rallied around the flag to help everybody during that tragedy. This is a great community. It's a giving community, very giving community.
Yeah.
People don't realize that.
Right. And it's, you'll notice, people talk about the casinos. They're the ones that always seem, they step up.
They sure do.
They step up. When something needs to get done, they step up a lot. So
you talk a little bit. We were talking about the mob a little bit. I can't think of the guy. Mo Dalitz. Mo Dalitz. I believe I read where he's the one that built Sunrise Hospital. Well, he built one of the early hospitals.
Yeah,
on his own dime.
That was more.
Wrong guy.
That was. Oh my gosh, I just lost
it. But the point is, they do step up, and they do chip in, and they are a huge part of our whole community.
Well, we're really built, or we were originally really built on the tourism and the gambling that came. Our economy since the recession in 2008, 9, we've started to expand.
Yes.
And people used to say, well, why do you want to move to Las Vegas? I said, well, first of all, the weather's great.
Oh, you can't beat the weather.
You can't beat the weather. And then we're central. Las Vegas is central. You're 280 miles from Los Angeles, about 280 miles from Phoenix, about 400 miles from
Salt Lake City,
about 400 miles from Reno. So there was a time, and I'm not sure where it is now, when we were talking about the Manhattanization of Las Vegas, building the high-rises.
Right.
And a gentleman by the name of Richard Lee.
I know him. I remember Richard Lee.
Used to talk about you could send from overseas on a ship. You could send something to Los Angeles, to the port of Long Beach or whatever, or you could fly it to Las Vegas via something like that. And you could get it to Las Vegas 2 days faster than you could by shipping it to LA because everything was so small. And
you could get in and out of our airport like nobody's brother, anywhere you want to go. I just saw that we had another almost 4.8 million tourists came in, or people flew into Reed Airport, the airport, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
I wish they just would have called it Las Vegas International Airport.
Well, it would have been a little easier.
A lot easier, yeah. Let's jump up a little bit. In 1990, our population was up to 756.
Yep.
What was it like here in the 90s? Was Matthew still in business?
Yes, yeah. And then, Americana Group was a big player at that time. It's now called Berkshire Hathaway. They were a big player. And so there were quite a few other types of, they were getting to different business ideas, different types of real estate companies were now starting to come in.
Yeah.
And, interesting, we talk about the economic issues, ups and downs. So in the 80s, we had the savings and loan debacle.
Yep, I remember
Very
it well.
similar because, the savings and loans all of a sudden started to fall apart. Then we came into the 90s, into the late 90s. There was everything going on with technology, with the internet, all those new businesses coming in. So in late 1990s, I was selling homes to some internet young people that were starting their companies. And I was showing homes. At that time, we thought a very expensive home was in the high 70s.
Sure, yeah.
Those kind of prices were high at that time. And so I had a young man that was like, he must have been 23, 24 years old. And he was .com owner of a business. And he was ready to pay cash for 2 properties. That was on Monday. By Thursday, he was broke.
I remember.
He was out, didn't have any money. So that was in the late 90s. Then we came up something very similar into what we went through.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm going to tell everybody, because people don't realize this, from the decade of the 90s, we almost doubled our population.
Yes, absolutely.
I didn't realize, that's how I looked up this morning, 750,000 to almost 1.4 million.
Well, and that's where Green Valley started to take off. Green Valley and all that American development was the company that was really taking off out in Green Valley.
Yeah, it's crazy how this town has grown, and we're still growing. We're not slowing down. I think I read recently we're still getting up close to 5,000 people are turning in their license. Driver's license every month. So we're still adding 60,000 people a year.
So I have relatives from Norway. And so I've been to Norway and they've been here. All right. And what's so interesting is I've had the ability and the opportunity to travel around the world and see different areas because of real estate.
Yeah.
But wherever you go, somebody asks you, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Las Vegas. Now, they can't pick it out on the map, but everybody knows.
Everybody knows Las Vegas, man.
Yeah,
that's right.
absolutely.
Everybody knows Las Vegas.
And that again was started back in the 80s and into the 90s, and it's just really grown. The convention authority and conventions now are very.
We have our Trends Committee, and often we have the Las Vegas Visitor Convention Authority will come in and talk to us about the numbers.
Yep.
And listen, we blow everybody out of the water. You take Chicago and Orlando, which are the 2 and 3, we beat both of them combined.
Sure.
And we just kick tail when it comes to convention. And now we're not just a great gambling and parties. We're the sports capital of the world today.
Oh, we are.
I mean, we have so much. Look, we have the world champion WNBA aces.
Yep.
We've got the Golden Knights, of course, because everybody's crazy about.
Absolutely.
And the Raiders are here. We've got MLS soccer coming. We've got Major League Baseball coming. During the winter, we have all these football championships come here. Basketball, all the basketball championships come. This is the place to be. It's
Rugby.
rugby.
And
we have soccer.
Soccer. Yeah, absolutely. The big soccer thing.
And now we don't only, I haven't been down yet, but the new Golden Knights minor league team in Green Valley, they built a brand new arena. Yeah. It's just exciting. There's so much going on.
There was a time I remember after they had built the MGM, the Tropicana, New York, and Excalibur across the street. We always used to say there were more hotel rooms on that 4 corners than there was in the entire city of San Diego.
I believe that.
And we used to always say, and now I need to get back up on my statistics, but when we were having these 300, 400, 500,000 people every weekend come to Las Vegas, they'd say, well, yeah, it's like the whole city of Philadelphia has come to Las Vegas for the weekend, and then they turn around and go back.
And we get about 300,000 on average every weekend out here.
Probably a little more.
Yeah, and there's some kind like SEMA. SEMA
Yes,
was
SEMA, yep.
I mean, they bring in 150,000 themselves, don't they?
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, you know, the National Association of Realtors has had a convention here in '92. We were looking to have a convention here next year. But
Formula One bumped us out.
But, you know, NAR brings in about 30,000 attendees to our convention. And yet the concrete subcontractors for a concrete, they bring in 85,000.
Yeah.
And they build those
That's
blocks.
a big event. That's fun to go by. It's a big event.
Right.
Look, there's everything you want here. There's nothing we lack.
Right.
From the weather to the people to the activities to the business opportunities. We're so diverse today, that much more than we ever were. And by the way, I didn't tell everybody, I meant to mention this in the beginning. You're not just a realtor. You're an extremely active realtor. You served on our local board.
Yep.
You served on the state board.
Yep.
You served on the national board.
Yep.
You were the president of our region, vice president of the region.
Well, yeah, we have what we call a regional vice president.
I mean, you have given back to the real estate community in ways many never will, and that's always appreciated in a big way.
Well, thank
Keith.
you. I appreciate that. You know, and I still like doing that. Teach a lot of classes. I'm on the faculty and things like that, and I'm still on the state board of directors.
You know, I've been fortunate to be on the local board for the last year, and I'm going to tell you what a thrill, pleasure, and enjoyment it is when we have these meetings, because I'm not saying you hold their feet to the fire, but you ask the tough questions. You don't just sit back. You get up there and tell them what it is.
Well, the joke is always, looks like Keith is going to ask another question, and you know.
Well, you ask the good ones, you ask the tough ones, and they need to be asked.
Well, and you know,
that's why they have you there.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you stepping up and getting into leadership as well. And that's something that, you know, they say, well, what does it mean to be a leader? And you start thinking, well, you know, I'm getting to the point where perhaps, you know, I'm going to try looking at other ways. I'm still on the MLS committee, so I do that as well. I put my name in for.
Well, you know, I love this business. Yeah. It's been very good to me and my wife.
Yeah.
And I like the people in it. And I thought, you know, to give back a little bit and be a voice for the average Joe and Jane is really what I was after.
Sure.
Because I'm in the field. I'm in the trenches every day. And so I'm glad to be on the board. I'm thrilled to be on the board. I'm glad to be able to put my 2 cents in every now and then.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, you know, real estate for us is a family tradition, and almost because, you know, my wife, I've been married now 30 years. We met through a committee at the Realtor Association. Really? And so we've been together 30 years, 24/7, selling real estate,
That's
being
great.
in real estate. And now I call him my son. He's my stepson, Chris.
What is that guy's name again?
Chris Bishop.
I think I heard of him.
Yeah. So
he does something with our company too, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's what?
He's a good man, or GM or something.
Yeah, whatever. But,
no, Chris is fantastic. I will tell you, he'll probably hear this at some point. I've told him before, but I've told Patty this too. Chris truly is. He's very wise beyond his years, man.
Absolutely.
For a 38-year-old guy, he knows this business like nobody's brother.
Yeah.
And we're lucky to have him, man.
I'm very proud of him because, you know, he was listening, I guess, when we were talking and didn't realize that was it. And I'm not going to take credit for what he knows because he's learned a lot on his own.
No, he's very smart. And Chris gives back a lot to the community. And Chris was the president of our chapter, of our board. And
local, state.
Yeah, he's been very active.
So is Patty.
Yeah, I know.
So we've all been.
And I enjoy Patty as my. She keeps me in line there. She keeps me. You know, I'm not sure this, that, and the other. Patty lets me know what the right way to do things is, and I enjoy being on the political affair committee with her.
So, what do you? While we're talking about real estate, I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
What do you see going on right now, currently in the housing market?
Well, look, there's unfortunately because people get spoiled, and they're spoiled by those 2.5, 2.5, 2.75, 3% interest rates. We're seeing a lot of people that are afraid to make a move because, I don't want to pay 7%. They act like 7% is so high. Keith, when I moved here in 2005, I bought my first house in Silverado Ranch. I paid 7%.
Sure.
That's what it was. I never even gave it a thought. And when I bought my very first house in 1981, rates were 18 and 20%.
Yeah, I can remember those.
And I was lucky to get a land contract from a friend, and I paid 11%. Keith, I was bragging about 11%. So that's the biggest bugaboo now. People are a little uncertain. We know it appears that we're heading into a bit of a recession, big or small, I don't know. So that's people a little skeptical. But we're still looking. I got to tell you, I put a house on the market about a week and a half ago, priced it accordingly.
Yep.
It was gone that weekend.
And that's
if you price it right, if you overprice, and I got another one,
Yep.
which I'm going to have a heart-to-heart with the guy this afternoon. He wanted to start high. It's been 7 days today. We've not had one showing. Well, we're overpriced.
Yep.
And I
We're
told him
going
we'll
back
give
to
him a
that.
week. Yeah, so we got to get back and price these homes accordingly. I actually had 3 offers on this one property because we priced it right at the market, not above it, just right where it belongs.
And there's still a lot of opportunity for buyers now.
Absolutely.
Just reading, as realtors, we need to know the market, and we need to know a little bit about loans and some of those things like that. So we get on. I always say we have a team of either the home inspectors
That's right.
and
That is a team.
title company and your lenders.
That's right.
But now there's new regulations out from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac about first-time home buyers and those tenants that might be interested now in getting out of being a tenant and buy a house. You can now use your monthly rent as part of your qualifying
Yep.
and showing that, which they haven't been able to do that
No.
before.
And for all those folks that are freaking out about 7%, guess what? If you're renting, you're paying 100%.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, and like we always say, you marry the house, don't marry the rate.
That's correct.
Get some property. You're going to appreciate, and you can always refinance down the road, but to continue to rent and throw the money out the window just makes no sense at all.
And where some of the taxes and inflation are going now, when you buy a property, you get a deduction on that interest rate.
That's right. And the other thing you get is this fixed payment.
Yes.
With the rent,
Yep.
you get nothing but
Yeah.
uncertainty.
But there are some loans coming back that we saw years ago, which are better.
They're structured differently today. That's right. You mean the arms. The arms.
The arms. Some of those are coming.
I was upset when I first heard this till I was explained to me that there's a big difference. They're
Yes.
not the same as they were because back there was a disaster.
Oh yeah.
That's what caused the biggest problem for us.
We used to have what we called the mirror test.
Yeah.
And the mirror test was, you put a mirror
That's
under your
right.
nose, and if you could fog the mirror,
Yeah.
you could get a loan.
The joke we used to make, if you shook their hand, they had a pulse to get a loan. But
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was
Yeah.
crazy. We got to wrap this up. We're past our time. Listen, I can't thank you enough. I could go on for hours with you. You're a wealth of information, and the history you've had here is just fantastic.
Well, I appreciate you, and it's a service not just to the realtors, but it's a service to the consumer, to our buyers and sellers. When you have these kind of blogs and this kind of information that can come out, so you're doing a great service for
Well,
everyone.
thank
and
you.
we
Thank you. I
that.
appreciate it. But I look forward to seeing you down in Orlando at the NAR convention. Should be a great one. I'm looking real excited
Absolutely.
about that.
I'm excited about that as well.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you, Ellie, and I'll be back anytime you want.
I would
As
love
long
it,
as-
man. I would
Okay.
love it. Beta, thank
Perfect.
you again. Everybody have a
Thanks,
great
Beta.
week. Be safe. Take care of each other. We'll see you next time.
Yep.
Bye.